Hey guys, I'm Carlin Barasenko. I'm an analyst and independent journalist that covers the far left in America. And, one of the questions I get quite a bit because I cover a lot of queer content is, what does queer even mean? And one of the things I always try to instill in people is that being queer is not about being gay. Being queer is not about being trans. It has nothing to do with any of that. It can be very easy to conflate those two things. But queer is a far left political ideology that is designed to fundamentally overthrow the system. And in order to illustrate that, I'm going to prove it to you because you guys know I always come with receipts. I'm not making this stuff up. I will show you where I get all this information. I want to just show you a few lines in the document Toward the Queerest Insurrection. And you can find this document just by Googling it. It's freely available all over the internet. Toward the Queerest Insurrection is a document that if you don't cover the far left like I do, or you're not actually a part of that particular subculture, you might never have any idea this document exists. But this document is one of the most famous and most widely read documents on the militant far left. Not only do they read this document, this paper is cited in college classes. You can look it up. There's a story in Campus Reform, I think, last year specifically about this document being cited as a source for college classes. So it is not an insignificant thing. This document was produced by the Mary Nardini Gang. Again, this is the Mary Nardini Gang. If you don't cover the far left, is probably something that you've never heard of. What the hell is that? The Mary Nardini Gang was a group of militant queer activists that formed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They are associated with the Bashback movement. Bashback is all about militant queer activism. We're starting to see a resurgence in that movement today. You might see signs that say queers bash back or other types of references, upside down pink triangles. That's this. The Mary Nardini Gang is one of the most influential groups that wrote manifestos in the mid-2000s that were distributed all throughout the queer anarchist community. And so this is how these ideas formulated. So they were in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This document was produced, we think, around 2008. It was also later published in a Bashback anthology around 2011, 2012, things like that. Now, there's a couple quotes in this document that I want to walk you through. Number one is under section number 4, right at the top there. In the discourse of queer, we are talking about a space of struggle against this totality, against normalcy. By queer, we mean social war. And when we speak of queer as a conflict with all domination, we mean it. What they're talking about is a war on the entire system, what they call normativity, which we might think of as the norms that uphold capitalist society. And if you are convinced yet that this is about capitalism, because everything the left does is about attacking capitalism, hang on one second, I'm going to prove you wrong. So if we go later into the document, and this is in section 7, it says the history of organized queers was born out of this position. The most marginalized trans folks, people of color, sex workers have always been the catalyst for riotous explosions of queer resistance. These explosions have been coupled with a radical analysis wholeheartedly asserting that the liberation of queer people is intrinsically tied to the annihilation of capitalism and the state. And when they say the state, by the way, they mean the capitalist state, the capitalist U.S. government, the capitalist constitution, because they believe that the United States was literally founded in capitalism. So you have to think of those two terms as pretty linked. You can't have the state without capitalism. You can't have capitalism without the state. This is what they believe. As a reminder, I'm a vehement anti-communist. I'm breaking down this information. I'm not telling you what I believe. I'm telling you what they believe. And what they believe is that being queer is intrinsically tied to the annihilation of capitalism. Now, another thing you need to know that queer is a fundamentally anti-assimilationist ideology. And so one of the institutions, and this surprises a lot of people, one of the institutions that queer people refuse to assimilate to is marriage. That's right. They never wanted gay marriage to be legalized. This was actually a big controversy in the mid-2000s where the queer activists basically schismed with the normie gay LGBTQ rights activists because the normie gay activists wanted to legalize marriage. The queer activists didn't want to legalize marriage. They were fighting about it all the time. You can look back at their writings and see it. In Towards the Queerest Insurrection, it basically says this. It says, assimilationists want nothing less than to construct the homosexual as normal, white, monogamous, wealthy, 2.5 children, SUVs, with a white picket fence. The construction, of course, reproduces the stability of heterosexuality, whiteness, patriarchy, the gender binary, and capitalism. If we genuinely want to make ruins of this totality, we need to make a break. We don't need inclusion into marriage, military, and the state. We need to end them. No more gay politicians, CEOs, and cops. We need to swiftly and immediately articulate a wide gulf between the politics of assimilation and the struggle for liberation. And as a reminder, when they say liberation, they mean liberation liberation from capitalism. So what they're talking about here is a concept called homonormativity. Homonormativity is basically the gays assimilating to the lifestyle of the straights. What does that mean? Getting married, settling down, buying a house, having kids, doing all the things that the normie LGBT rights movement wanted to do at the time, but the queer activists were vehemently against it. So yes, they were never in favor of gay marriage. This is a fundamental confusion on the right. And by the way, the right is trying to abolish gay marriage right now, or at least some people on the right are. And this would be one of the biggest wins that you could hand the far left in history, because they never wanted gay marriage to exist in the first place. If you want more information about this, you can head over to my Substack. That is Carlyn, Karlyn.substack.com. Click on the book club link at the top. You're going to find the Counter-Revolutionary Book Club. This is a podcast I do where we talk about different queer literature, manifestos, communiques, things that exist in these underground anarchist subcultures. I actually covered Towards the Queerest Insurrection on the second episode, because it is one of those documents that if you want to understand the radical activist far left, you have to read this document and you have to understand the ideas in it. You can find the Counter-Revolutionary Book Club on Apple and Spotify, and also on the Substack app. And we read documents like this all the time. This is far and away, this is not, there are thousands of documents just like this, and they all basically say the same thing in some derivation or another. So if you ever want to actually read the radical revolutionary far left with us, join the Counter-Revolutionary Book Club. You can come to live tapings on my YouTube channel and actually see what the far left is saying and see what they were writing about throughout history, and compare that with what we're being told in conservative and right-wing media about what the left believes. The two don't line up. We have to start hinging back into reality with what these things mean and with what these people are doing, because I think we're seeing a massive resurgence in queer activism in the country since Trump took back office, and I think it's going to get bad, and I think we're going to see a lot more militancy and violence in the coming years than we've seen before. And if you follow along with this stuff, you'll be able to understand it and you'll be prepared for it. So that's what we do. I appreciate you guys listening. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'm more than happy to answer them.